One of the best things about live comedy is the audience. You feed off the energy of an audience. I did my first show in 1997 at Caroline's Comedy Club, and I'm still chasing that high, and some of you know what I'm talking about. So let me show you what it's like to be in front of a live audience. Well, during a pandemic, it's really hard to have a live audience. So what I'm gonna do is introduce the people that are pivoting and still bringing live comedy to you. So welcome to the Bro Pit. Come on in. We won't tell your mom, because she's already here. Well, welcome to the Bro Pit, everybody. I'm super excited today. I have a special guest that's going to be joining me in a moment, but I'm excited to be here. But as always, it's a one drink minimum, so please, welcome to the Bro Pit. Like I said, during the pandemic, a lot of comedians had to pivot to bring live comedy to you. And today I'm going to bring one of my good friends in who turned around and created a couple of shows live on the internet that we all got to join in. It was amazing. And I want you to introduce my good friend, Philip Whiting. Welcome to the show, Phil. Thanks for coming to the Bro Pit.
Well, thanks for having me. As your opening, I think we've had live shows when we could have audiences with about the same amount of people.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, at the cafe. So Phil and I are in a group together called Never Decaf, and we actually started in a group with Powered Improv. He started down in Orlando, and I joined. But let me give you a little taste of who we are. Before we get to it, let me show them something that we do together.
I knew you'd come. I knew you'd come. You were here. I knew it. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Woo. Now what?
I knew you wouldn't come prepared. I took it from my dad. I see him do this. We should do it. Yeah, do this. Yeah. We said what? Cheers? Cheers? Oh, yeah. Cheers. That's terrible. Oh my God. Why did they do this to each other? Oh my God. Oh God. I'm taking another sip now.
I did bring something stolen from my mom's purse.
Oh.
Later.
Okay. Yeah. This is terrible. Why did they do this?
I'm not gonna try.
I'm gonna take one more. Yes. So that's kind of wasn't that kind of our first? We have another project called the Sea of the Whitley Project, and that was like one of our first nights.
No, that was actually from Never Decaf.
Oh, the jam
at the festival. Night. No, that was the actual festival. We just were the first two out.
Oh, okay. I forgot. We've done the Alchemy thing. So I was real quick. Like I said, you turned around and created a couple of shows. We'll talk about that in a second. But I want to get a little background of your improv world. So what drew you to improv? What decided you to say, hey, I really need to try this and do this?
I saw improv for the very first time when I was in the Army. I was on a peacekeeping mission in Bosnia, and one of the other soldiers' wife would record. I don't know what night it was, probably Thursday or Friday, and it would be like the Drew Carey show, Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza, and Whose Line Is It Anyway? So that's where I first saw it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Got out, didn't even do anything for years after that, and I had moved to Orlando, and I think I watched an episode, and I was like, oh, let me go ahead and search some of these guys. So I actually searched Wayne Brady first, and I saw that he came out of Orlando, and I found out about SAC Comedy Lab. And next thing I know, I was taking my first class at SAC Comedy Lab. So Wayne Brady is indirectly responsible for me getting started.
That's awesome. Yeah. And actually, my graduation class, Phil was in my class with me. We graduated together at SAC, which is outstanding. And you started Power to Improv down in, how did that come about?
Well, I wasn't one of the chosen ones. SAC's beginning level class people, I guess is how you would call it, had 1 million people in it. So I didn't get put in that. So I decided that, okay, I'll do my own thing. And I got together with Matt and you. Who else was there? PJ, Gordon, Chris, Kevin, was Michelle at that time, Kurt. I don't know, 8 of us or so.
There's
And,
a lot.
and PJ found us a place down in Kissimmee, and we started doing shows every Friday and Saturday night, and that ran for a long time. Powered Improv is still alive and going. Matt is down there running it, because as soon as I started it, I was like, "Hey, I just want to play."
Yeah, you take over. Well, you took a hiatus from improv for a little while. What happened there?
Well, I went through a divorce, and I moved to
Been there.
I moved up here to South Carolina, and I actually was trying to get in with a group before I even moved here, but my go-to person for that group was actually moving away as I moved here. So I ended up taking 6.5 years off, and then finally, it's like a little bit over 3 years ago now. My wife and I, yes, I got remarried. My wife and I were going towards Myrtle Beach for the weekend, and I found out there was a place there, an improv theater there. They were having what they called a practice with the players. Paid $5, went there and practiced with them, because I talked about improv all the time, but Terry had never seen it. So
what she said is she was tired of hearing you talk about it and said, "Get back on stage."
I hear you talk about it. Prove it. So I went there, and how it happened was, so we did a little warm up thing like normal, and then we started going. Got on stage and did different games. Towards the end, I ended up sitting in the back because my wife was not an improviser. She was not going to get up on stage. Never will. She won't even be a guest. If you want her to volunteer, don't ask.
Nope.
So they were playing a game called what they called soap opera. If I could speak perfectly clearly, we would make sense all the time. And this was different than like other ones that I've seen, because what you do is you're doing a 2-person scene, and then slowly and very low you start hearing the music. The louder the music gets, the more dramatic you get with it. And so I wanted to play this game, so I stood up, and they're like, "We're gonna do one more." I stood up, 2 other people jumped up on stage, so I sat back down, and the lady Petra, who was running it, came up to me and she's like, "We're gonna do one more because I want to see you do this." And I was like, "Okay, all right, yeah, let's do it." So after that, after the practice, Petra was talking to me, and we started talking about Alchemy Comedy, which is here in Greenville, South Carolina. And I was like, "Yeah, I've been there. I just haven't done anything with it yet." And she's all like, "Would you like to?" How did she say it? "Would you like me to connect you with Harrison?" I was like, "Oh, I know who he is. No, don't worry about it," because that felt kind of weird to me. And then I was like, "All right." Like a day later, I go, "Yeah, go ahead and send him a message about me or whatever." And then I added him on Facebook. Next thing you know, like 2 weeks later, I was in class with Alchemy, and I went through all that. And before graduating is when I started Never Decaf Improv.
I was going to say, that's when Never Decaf came. So I was going to ask you about Never Decaf, which is I'm a part of too. I traveled from Atlanta up to South Carolina to do shows, which I love, until the pandemic, and then we'll talk about that.
We're recording this on what day is it? We're actually recording this 3 days. And 3 days from today that we're recording this was our last official on-stage show at the Savannah Comedy Festival.
That's right.
At Front Porch Improv. They're amazing.
Yeah,
we're coming back.
We're coming back. You get a chance to be in Savannah, you absolutely have to look them up. There's a great venue and great shows there. Absolutely.
Yeah, their theater's only like a year old now, and they are doing shows again.
That's awesome. Because in Georgia, we are not closed down because we don't.
so I got back and I think I was up into like level 3, and a friend of mine, Reed Halverson, who was a part of the group I was trying to get with originally when I moved here, I was like, hey, let's do a 2-man show. So we end up setting that up, and oh gosh, was it the weekend before I lost my voice, and I could not talk at all. So I was very quiet at work, and they were very happy. So I go ahead and we do the show. It's like on a Tuesday night, and they had a thing at Stomping Ground, which was called Ladies' Night. So I was like, "Oh, they should have people there. This would be great." So Ladies' Night there, it was not like Ladies' Night at a bar,
Right?
It's kind of like these other ladies would bring in stuff to sell, like clothing and jewelry and stuff like that. So we're like, oh, okay. Anyway, it was a great experience. We did a 2-person show. But Reed was like, I can't commit to this monthly because he's a teacher, an improviser, and he's like a theater teacher. So he's got all kinds of stuff going on.
Program, yeah.
And he's in a 2-person band at the same time. So
what else can he do? Come on, let me name some other things Reed can do.
Honestly, he can write, direct.
Yeah, exactly.
He does it all. And then I'm like, I contacted Jason, who is a friend of mine here, who's part of Alchemy, and he was all like, just go to shows and ask people if they want to do a show with you. I was like, that felt weird to me because of where we came from.
Yeah.
And so I asked Harrison. He goes, yeah, go ahead, no problem. So I ended up asking the guy named AJ and Corey. Corey is still here. AJ has moved away since. And it was February 16th. I only know that because it came up with my timeline. 3 years ago on February 16th, we did the very first Never Decaf Improv show.
That's awesome. Yeah,
and
so
here we are.
I've done a ton of shows. So I remember when it was all crashing down and they were closing everything down, and we're like, well, how are we going to do improv? And this is where I think you came up with a brilliant idea, and that's where Improv Separately Together came together. And tell me a little about that. And I'm gonna bring up some bring up a little for them to see. So this is his Facebook page. Go ahead.
And I think I started it in March or something. Like March 30th, I think I started this page. So I ended up having 5 weeks out of work. And I knew that I would go crazy sitting here if I didn't do something. So I was like, oh, what if I interview other improvisers that I know, and hopefully this will generate meeting brand new people and having them be on the show too. I put it out there on a couple of websites what I was going to do, and within 3 days of the page actually starting, I had the first couple people lined up that I did not know. I was like,
let's talk about who was your very first interview.
I'm going to get to you.
Who's that guy? Tell me more about him.
So I had these lined up, but I had to get the concept of exactly how I wanted to do it. So this guy, Sean, I know.
Here's a little taste. Let's just give him a little taste of what we got here.
Together. I'm your host, Philip Whiting, and with this show, I want to come to you and have interviews with other improvisers and non-improvisers, and just see how they're doing and what's going on in their lives through this, well, let's call it a crisis, because that's what it is. All right, so welcome Sean to the show! All right, Sean, so...
Man, you hit pause on it before you take it out.
I know. I can't do both at the same time.
So that was the very first episode I did, and after watching it, I realized that this screen is too small. Actually, I think you mentioned it too.
Yeah.
And so we got a TV and I connected it to the computer and I did interviews through the computer on the TV, and it ended up being more like a weather meteorologist setup where I'm looking here talking to the people, but
Yeah, I'm trying to bring up
actually
one now
here.
for you. Let's see if I can find one. Here, I'll bring up your most popular one.
Hey everybody, welcome to Improv Separately Together. I'm your host, Philip Whiting, and we got a big guest tonight. Let me introduce you guys to the show. Jonathan! Woo!
Hey, that guy's on TV.
Yeah, that was a good pull for that one, yeah.
Luckily, Jonathan Mangum is out of SAC and has been on my friends list for 15 years or 14 years. And granted, we only talked very little. He was gracious enough to come on the show.
That's
and
nice.
For you guys that are watching who don't know who that is, he is I'm getting that echo again. He is the co-star or co-host, I guess you'd say, of Let's Make a Deal with Wayne Brady, and he also does Whose Line Is It Anyway?
And he actually, when they tour together, him and Wayne Brady do shows together in Vegas. I saw him in Vegas together. That was awesome. So you ended up actually doing 60 of those interviews.
Yeah, during the 5 weeks I was off, I was putting it out daily.
Yeah, which was great because from that you chose to say, hey, if you do this interview with you, we're going to do some lunchtime line games. And that became a big show for you also.
Yeah, I started, I don't even remember when I started that. I don't know if that was before. I think I went back to work and then started that. And I said, you know what, let's take 5 people who have done the show with me and let's play some line games and see how that works out. Then that became a weekly episode of that. Along with
let me show them a quick little clip of that too.
I bet you're in this one.
I might be. Oh no.
Not seeing it anywhere.
Yeah, put the horrible one before I figure out how to run it.
I know how. Let me just move forward head for.
You're talking, but your lips aren't moving. But that's okay. Guys, if you're here for the first time, hello. You've seen it before. Hello again. We're going to play about 4 games. We're going to
We'll jump ahead.
Oh. Hold on, Dash is back.
Okay.
You weren't actually in that, were you?
I didn't choose. I didn't choose the one I was in. I'm shocked. That's so ego. But that was the line games, which ended up being just a lot of fun. So was it every week or every other week?
I was doing it every week, depending on what my days off were. When I went back, we had a weird schedule for like 2 months, and I was off like Monday this week, Tuesday the next, Wednesday each week. So it sucked.
It's just so like people watching me, not sure what line games are. They're just certain one-line games that we play, and then people raise their hand and they make a pun throughout the line. So whatever could be that one. That scene where they were going with CSI, a game where
Sean's favorite game.
My favorite game. And it's from the show CSI Miami, and every time there was a death, he'd make a pun at the end of it. And we get suggestions from the crowd, and then however that person dies, that's the pun we make. So it was just a lot of fun with that one. So that one went on for a while, and with the 60 interviews, and then we ended up taking that and moving it to the nighttime with Never Decaf.
Yeah, I was like, you know what, we need to play as a team again, and like instead of lunchtime line games, we created late night line games. It wasn't really that late. I mean, I guess the first episode was like 10,
right?
And we're like, I don't want to do it this late. We're doing it at 9. We're keeping the name. I didn't care. And then we started doing that every other week on Friday nights at 9:00, and we are still doing that as of now.
So if you can find us on Facebook. It's Never Decaf Improv. I mean, we're having every 2 weeks. We're having a show.
You can also find on YouTube Never Decaf Improv. Make sure you type in the word improv with it, because you'll get something else.
Yes.
It's not dirty.
Yeah,
it's actually funny. It's a band, but when I did a search a little bit ago, like last week, they have 0 content on there now. It's like they took it all down.
They took it all down.
Probably getting their lawsuit for the name. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we started the lawsuit, a cease and desist letter sent to him. I wrote it up in a crayon. Like, do not do that anymore.
In front of people.
Now, the Bro Pit is about a bunch of experts coming together, and I'm the comedy bro. But so, as you being someone who's in comedy and improv, what would you recommend for people who want to know a little more about improv? Say, hey, I'd like, this improv. I've seen Whose Lines It Anyway. Where else can I go and find some of this great improv besides online, like local shows?
Besides local shows, there's stuff on Netflix.
What would you recommend? Because we have a list of them.
Actually, okay, if you can rent or buy TJ and Dave, Trust Us, This Is All Made Up. That's more of a long form type show.
And TJ, if you know TJ, because he was on all the Sonic commercials for a while. He was the goofy silly one in the Sonic commercial. So that's an amazing, that was an amazing. That's an amazing show if you want to see a great improv, long form improv.
Colin Mockery and Brad Sherwood have a DVD out. It's called a 2-Man Group, and theirs is all short form games, kind of like the same type of things you see on Whose Lines It Anyway. There's plenty of books out there. When you first get into them, you read them.
Read them.
I buy them now, and I don't know. I can't go through them.
We're kind of snotty, but
real quick, the ones that I have bought and I've read the whole thing through, they don't start at the beginning. It's when they tell you all the basics at the beginning of every single book. That's when I get tired of it.
Yeah, it's like we need more. So
nothing against the books; they're probably all great.
They're all great, but when you kind of read the same thing over and over again, you're like, all right, I need to move on from this. So
exactly.
All right. Well, any other thing you need to plug or push?
Let's see. Nope.
All right.
I'm trying to make some films.
Yeah, so we'll get those in time. Well, I was your first guest for Improv Separately Together. You are my first guest on the Bro Pit, so I'm glad you could be here. So thanks for joining us.
I was off today.
I know. Well, thanks for joining us, the Bro Pit, and you know what, everybody, if you get a chance, definitely search for Never Decaf Improv on Facebook. We got shows coming all the time. Bill, I want to say thanks for joining me. You're my first guest. I'm excited you could be here. And
thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So cheers to the Bro Pit. I'll talk to you soon. I know you didn't bring a drink, but that's okay.
Nope.
And I get to do fun. You get to do it everybody all the time. I'm going to send you to the green room. Boom. Well, everybody, that was my first interview with someone who actually turned around and really pivoted during the COVID. And that's just one of the many people I'm going to bring on and talk to, just because some of this great comedy going all over the place. And it doesn't have to be, Netflix or worldwide. Your local areas has improv, has comedy, has stand-up going at all times. And it's great to find those places. So go out and support live comedy. It's the most amazing thing. And it's really showing these artists, because you know what? One day you're going to say, I saw that artist back when they're on TV doing great things. So I look forward to our next time. I will have more guests and more people coming on to talk about comedy. So thank you. I will talk to everybody real soon.